So I would like to give everybody a very, very warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to have Jess with us today for a special design makeover session focusing on video. Those of you that have been to Canva Space before will know my name is also Jess and I'm from Design School, and I will be managing the chat and the Q&A panel. Now, if you have any questions, I encourage you to put them in the Q&A panel. This session will be recorded, and everyone who attended and registered through Eventbrite will receive a link to that recording in due course. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Jess. Welcome.
Thank you. So, hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Design Makeover, a show where we take designs from our communities, optimize them based on design best practice, and share tips and insights along the way. My name's Jess, and I'm a videographer at Canva. Being a videographer means that I create videos, often from start to finish. The back end of video production, otherwise known as post-production, can include editing, sound mixing, and color grading. So this is where a tool like Canva comes in. Today, we'll be making over 3 video designs submitted by our community. Did you know that by 2022, online videos will make up more than 82% of all consumer internet traffic? That's 15 times higher than it was in 2017. 78% of people watch online videos every week, and 55% view online videos every day. 72% of customers said they would rather learn about a product or service by way of video. In fact, 84% of people say they've been convinced to buy a product or service by watching a brand's video. Viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in a video, compared to 10% when reading it in text. And marketers who use video grow revenue 49% faster than non-video users. So if you're interested in making videos using Canva, it's definitely a good time to learn how. So let's take a look at some video content. So this design comes from Rodriguez. She has submitted a video experimenting with gold and silver textures inspired by a tutorial by Canva's very own Ronnie. I'll be focusing on 3 principles today: messaging, simplicity, and consistency. So let's get stuck into it. So the first thing I want to talk about here is what's the message that we're trying to convey. So I think that Rodriguez has done some really fun things experimenting with these textures, but let's find an actual message that we're trying to call out, which is the core of making any video. I think that the theme of this ties in really well. Obviously, right now it's the Olympics and all of our athletes are in Tokyo. So I think it could be really fun to transform this into a little bit of a celebration of the Olympics. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change this 3rd page because we've got gold and silver, but we don't have bronze. And of course, we have to celebrate bronze. So I'm actually going to transform this page into a bronze page. So I'm going to strip out these really fun, lovely gold elements. I really love the use of different textures that Rodriguez has done here in this really fun satiny texture. But I am just going to pop that out and I'm going to add bronze. So I can see, I don't know if you guys have watched Ronnie's tutorial, but the way that she's created these really beautiful, fun letters is she's used letter frames. So I'm going to do the same thing for the bronze. Just scroll through until we find some letter frames. And I want the letter frames to match the letter frames on the other 2. So you can see that she's gone with a sans serif font here. So that means it doesn't have the little feet. You can see on these letters, they've got little feet, which means they're serif fonts. So we want to match it up. We want to look for sans serif fonts. So just have a little look through, loads of really fun elements. While I'm looking through here, I've got a question for the audience. What is everyone's favorite Olympic sport to watch? Pop your answers in the Zoom chat. I'm personally pretty excited that skating and surfing are in the Olympics for the first time. I think that's really cool.
Well, Debbie was straight in there agreeing with you. Debbie was figure skating. Figure skating is amazing, isn't it? Figure skating and gymnastics would be mine. I just like, how do people do that with their bodies? I don't know.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah. Jessica says swimming. We got a lot of love for swimming. Stacio is with me with the gymnastics. Tennis. Yeah. I mean, at that level, it's all really exciting to watch, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible.
Raja V says letter frames are so cool. I use them for my YouTube.
Oh, how good. So I've got all of the letters. They're just enormous. So bear with me, guys. What else is everyone watching? What other Olympic sports?
Oh, we've got so many. There's pretty much a fan for every sport in here. Melanie likes track and field. Vindra loves the golf. Is golf an Olympic sport? I didn't even know that. Basketball, diving. Yeah, diving's always really impressive too.
Diving's amazing.
Badminton, hockey, skateboarding. Yeah, is this the first year for skateboarding too? I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brand new.
Yeah, boxing and weightlifting. Yeah, that's always very impressive. Taekwondo, swimming, says Jay, but I've just discovered the road race and the mental stuff that goes with it. Interesting. Cool.
So we've got my letters in there. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. I'm going to, I don't know if you guys have seen this little tip, but I'm going to use the tidy up to space them. So I don't know if you guys have discovered tidy up yet, but it is such a time saver. So you can see I've used that and it's just really quickly evened up all of the space between all of those letters. So I'm really happy with that. I'm going to shift that down. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make it a bit smaller than the text on the other two, because so much of video is about subliminal messaging and metaphors and all the nuance that goes with it. So I'm actually going to make bronze the smallest, and then already silver's a bit bigger, and then gold is the big one. Gold's the hero. So I'm just sort of like layering in that subliminal message with bronze, silver, and gold. And of course, I'm going to pop it up the top so it goes first. We've got bronze, then silver, then gold. So I'm going to leave that there just for the moment. We'll come back to that one. Let's focus on gold for a second. So I really love all of the different textures that Rodriguez has popped in here, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to simplify this right down so that we're really heroing the word gold. So I'm going to take out some of these extra elements. This background is really, really fun. It's very beautiful. It's very visual, but it is a little bit distracting. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to use this fun little gold confetti that we already have in there. And I'm going to use this as the background. So I'm going to stretch this right out so that it covers the whole piece. And then I'm going to just shrink it down so it fits within. And then I'm going to move it backwards so that it sits behind our letters, just like that. And I think it looks really fun against the white, but I am going to go for some consistency across all of our slides. So let's just try, let me just fix that up. Let's just try a black background, see how that looks. And I actually think that looks really great. We've got some really nice popping. The only thing is the background is still a little bit distracting. So here's a little fun tip. What we're going to do is we're going to drop a rectangle in here. We're going to color it black. We're going to stretch that out so that it covers up the confetti. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drop the opacity of it right down. So you can see the less opacity, the brighter the gold, the more that gold starts to fade. And of course, I'm going to drop it so that it's under our letters so that we're not concealing the letters, we're just concealing the confetti. So you can just dial that up and down. You can make the confetti as bright or as dark as you like. I'm going to drop there at about 40. So already this background is looking really fun. It's much more simplified. And I'm going to do the same thing for bronze, I think. So I'm going to jump into our stock video library. I don't know if you guys have discovered Canva's video library yet, but it's enormous. There's so much video content. There's some really, really great stuff in there. And I think because we're in a celebratory mood, I'm going to do something with fireworks. And I also think that fireworks could have that really lovely gold or bronze look that we're going for. So as you can see, as soon as you type in fireworks, there's so much really fun content in there. And I think we might go for something like this. Really fun, really vibrant. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the confetti, which is dropping this rectangle in so that we're making the background just that little bit more subtle and really heroing the word, which is the focus. So again, you can sort of dial this up or down. I think about there looks good. So it's just quite subtle, the background. That's what we're going for. So Now let's look at the letters themselves. I really love the playfulness that Rodriguez has gone for in here, but I do want to create a little bit of consistency. So let's take a look at silver. There's so many really fun textures in there, but I really want to just find one and make it uniform across all of the letters. So going back into our stock, let's find a really nice silver texture. There's some really lovely ones in there. And what do you guys think of this one? Or even, oh yeah, that's a nice one. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to drop it into each of the letters. And that's the beauty of frame letters. You can really drop anything you like in there. They're a lot of fun. If you guys haven't gotten amongst frame letters already, you definitely should. So already this is looking a lot neater, a lot more uniform. What you can also do is you can use the positioning tool. So you can stretch these out if you really want to hero the detail and the texture that we've got there. So you can see already that looks much more textured, a little bit different. This is very subjective, so you can really go as big or as small as you like. I'm just going to blow this up a little bit so that we really get that texture in there. Oh, and also while we're here, I'm just going to delete out these really fun little pops. I think that they're really fun, but again, a little bit distracting from the message. I'm really just trying to simplify. So I think these letters are looking really good. I am just going to tidy them up a little bit. So again, using this tidy up tool, you can see it gives really consistent gaps between all of the letters. And then you can just go and manually and tweak it. So you can see that because of the way that the L and the V are shaped, it's just looking like there's a little bit more of a gap, even though there's not. So I'm just going to manually shift it over. I'm going to eyeball it. So I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take the whole thing and just pop it right in the middle there. I think that's really nice. And while we're on this page, I'm going to have a look at this background video. I really love the one that she's chosen, this really big like pop of silver. I think it's really fun. It is quite long. It's nearly 6 seconds. So I'm just going to trim it using the trim tool. I'm going to trim the start of it so that we start with this beautiful big burst. And I'm going to cut it down to 3 seconds because I think that's a pretty ideal amount of time. So already I think this page is looking really great. I'm going to leave that one there. Gold, I'm going to visit these letters. So I'm going to look for a gold texture. I really love the gold that she's used. I really love this sort of gilding, but I do think it's a little bit distracting. So I'm going to look for something that's just a little bit more simple. So a couple of really nice gold textures here. I really love this one. I think it's got this really beautiful natural texture. So I'm going to use this one. I'm just copying it and then I'm dropping it into each of the letters. So what do you guys think of this? I think that's pretty fun. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the tidy up tool before. You can see it's a tiny change, but it's just that a little bit more aligned. And then again, I'm going to use this positioning tool. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what I really like about this is that if you do have a texture that's got a gradient from one side to the other, if you do this, it will make the whole thing look like it's part of the same piece. I think this is a really fun little hack. So all of these look like they are from the same piece of gold texture, which they are. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Just creating this really nice alignment across the word. And I think that looks really great. I'm really happy with how that looks. So we've got our gold, we've got our silver. Let's revisit our bronze. So let's look for a bronze texture. Got some really fun ones in there. And I think this one is really nice. So again, just copying that, dropping that into all of our letters. So now we have a really fun little piece. I am going to add one final page just to really call out that message again, which we're talking about the Olympics. So I think it would be really nice just to drop in some text. Congratulations to all our Olympians. And I'm pretty happy with that. And then I'm going to revisit Canva stock video library. So as I mentioned, there's so many videos in here. There's some really, really great videos, free and pro. You can pretty much find a video for anything you need. So many hero, Olympic, medal videos. I really like this one. I really like the sun behind it. I really like, it's quite subtle, but the message is definitely there. So I'm going to place this as my background, but as you can see, now that I've done this, we don't quite have enough contrast between the words and the background. So once again, I'm going to add in a rectangle. This time I'm just going to put it around the text with a nice healthy margin. I'm going to change it to black, but it doesn't really matter which color. Set it behind the text, and then I'm going to just drop the opacity down so we can still see the video through it, but it just gives us that little bit of contrast so that we can read the text. The text is legible, but we still see the video behind it. So that just gives us a really nice contrast between the text and the background. Great. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the page durations and animations. So especially for this last page, you can see we've got some text and we want the audience to be able to read it. So a really good rule of thumb when you're making videos with text is read something out loud to gauge the length, to gauge how long the audience is going to need to read this. So congratulations to all our Olympians. I think about 3 seconds is probably enough time for the audience to read it. But let's give them 4 just to be generous. So you can see the video is 19 seconds. We only need 4. We can crop this down using the trim tool, make this page 4 seconds, which I think is good. And then we'll just check the durations of the other pages. This one's 7. Let's make it 3. Silver, we've already done. Gold, let's halve this. Let's make this 3 seconds as well. So now we've got this really lovely video. We can preview it up here. Run silver and gold. And I'm really glad that we previewed it before we exported it, because now it's reminded me that I want to come back in and I want to set some page animations. So these are really fun. We've got, if you guys haven't discovered page animations yet, these are amazing. These are just so much fun. You can see there are some pro ones and there are a bunch of free ones. And I'm actually going to use the rise animation. I think that there's some really nice subliminal messaging there with, rising to the occasion, rising to the challenge, rising to the podium. So I'm going to set the page animations as rise. I also think it's just a really lovely animation and it's one of the free ones, which is really nice. So I'm going to set all of my pages to rise. Preview that again, and I'm really happy with that. So there you have it. We've completed our makeover of this design. The key things that we've changed is we've given the piece a really clear message. We've simplified the design right down to here are those main elements, and we've given all the pages just a lot more consistency. So does anyone in our audience have any questions related to this design?
Lots of love for this design coming through. Absolutely beautiful. It's great to have a nice design celebrating our Olympians. A few people wondering where you got the letter frames. They didn't quite catch that. They've done a bit of a search. I think if you just type frame, so I just had to go typing frame into the elements panel, you'll see all of the frames, and just keep scrolling and you'll see the letter frames. That actually came up better than just searching letter frames, just searching frames itself. Another attendee, anonymous, asked, how do you keep the background from being part of the rise animation when you apply a whole page animation?
That's a great question. Both of them are great questions, actually. With the letter frame ones, I type in letter frame, but you can also, if you're looking for a specific letter, you can type in letter frame A or letter frame B, and that will come up with all of the different letter frames for that letter. And there are a bunch of different fonts that are set up for this, so you can really have a lot of fun with that. And to keep the background, so what's actually happened when I've expanded the video to be the size of the background, it actually automatically attaches itself to the background and becomes the background of the video. So that won't animate once it's attached to the background. So if you don't want it attached, all you can do is right click and go detach video from background. because it's automatically attached, which I actually like. I think it's a really great feature of Canva, but if you don't want to, you just detach it. So that's how it's stopping it from being part of that animation, is because it is the background. Great question.
Yeah, interesting. So Pamela was asking, how did you make the letters move in? So that was just by applying that animation to the whole page, Pamela. And Christian is asking, how do you grab and drag all of the content? Do you have a tip on moving everything in one go? A bit like you did when you were rearranging the silver letters, you grabbed like 3 letters at once and moved them.
Yeah, so really fun one that'll save you loads of time is you can click anywhere. I've clicked now, click and drag. So everything that you cross the path of is going to be selected. And you can see the black rectangle that we added earlier is selected. If you don't want one element selected, you hold down the shift key and then click that, and it's going to unselect it. It's going to deselect it. So typically, when you hold down shift, it will deselect the other elements, but that's how you group. Or what you can do is you can select one, hold down the shift key, then select the next, then select the next, then select the next. So while you've got the shift key held down, you can keep adding elements, and they'll all be selected together, and then you can resize them all as a group, or you can group them together and that will make them all part of the same element. But I'm sure you guys are all over the group button already because that's a really fun one. But yeah, shift and select is how you group multiple.
So useful. And one last question on this, while you've got that grouped gold, is there, do you have any tips on turning on the axis? So I think it defaults to like axis on the middle when you move things. Do you know any hacks to move it to like one end? I don't know of any personally. I don't know if there are any.
Sorry, do you mean rotating it?
Yeah, rotating it, exactly. So it's rotating on a central axis there. Like if you wanted to rotate around the G instead of rotate around the middle, can you move that?
I see. So that's what's called an anchor point. So the anchor point for Canva is always the middle, because that's where it's anchored to. At the moment, you can't change the anchor point on an animation. That's just not a feature that Canva has, but I don't think that I think it's really easy to get around that. So if you want to rotate it, but you wanted to rotate it around where the G was, you could just rotate it around, and then you just simply grab it and move it to where you want it to be. I think that's a pretty easy workaround.
Brilliant. Some great productivity flow hacks there. Thank you for sharing those. That's all the questions. We've got a few design challenges coming through in the chat. So if we have time at the end, I will raise those with Jess. But right now, that's all the questions for that design. Thank you.
Awesome. So moving on to our next design, this design comes from Dai Na. He actually submitted a static design, and I thought it would be really interesting to show you guys how, with a few simple steps, we can transform a static image into a moving one. The main reason for doing this is engagement. The biggest social media platforms all favor videos in their algorithms. So if you typically post images, try posting some videos instead. There's a really good chance you'll see some uplift in your audience engagement. So let's jump into Dai's design. So straight off the bat, I really love this design. I think it's really playful. I really love that he's created this woman popping out of the Instagram frame, holding the likes button. I think that he's had a lot of fun here. He's obviously used the background remover tool to cut this woman out, and he's really played with frames, and all of these elements are from the Canva library. And I think he's been very experimental, very fun with it. One thing that I will change right away is color grading is such an important part of videography and video editing. And it's really important to pay attention to skin tones. So I really like the brightness, the vividness of this photo. But if you have a look at her skin tone, she does look a little bit orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab her. I'm going to edit the image. You can see that the saturation is all the way up to 100, which is why she's looking a little bit on the orange side. So I'm actually just going to drop it back down to 0. And already you can see that she just looks much more natural. Her skin tones just look normal again. So let's turn this into a video. One thing that I can see straight away that I think would make for a really fun video is she's holding this likes card. And I think it would be really fun if the likes went up, because the idea of this is, how to use Instagram hashtags and how to boost your own business. So I think if the likes were going up, that would sort of have this subliminal message that if you use Dai's tips, then your Instagram engagement will go up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this element. I'm going to add a new page, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to resize it so that basically all we're seeing is this hand, this likes button, because because that's what we're focusing on at the moment. And then what I want to do is cover up the number that's already in there. So I'm going to use my trusty rectangle. You guys are going to get very sick of rectangles by the end of this. And I'm going to just use it to cover up this number. And then I'm going to adjust the color so that it matches. You can go in here, you can have a play around. You want to get it as close as possible. I'm just going to drop in the hex code that I know the color is so that it matches up. So now it looks like a completely blank slate, and we're going to replace the number. So we're going to add in some text. So 341. Let's just move that right out of the way. Change it to white. So we want to kind of try and match it up to what was already on there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we want to sort of get a fairly close match. I think the easiest way to do it is to look at the slope of the 1, because that's a bit of a giveaway for what that font might be. It's obviously a lot thinner than the font that we've got here, which was the default, which is Oswald. It's one of my favorites. So straight off the bat, that looks pretty close. I'm pretty happy with that. It doesn't have to be perfect, like I said, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one and then just move that back in. So now, as you can see, we've got full ability to control this number. We can change the 341, we can make it go up as high as we want. So I'm going to duplicate this page, change this number to 342, duplicate it again, 343, and you can keep going up as high as you like. It's a little bit time consuming, so I actually prepared one earlier. What you want to do with these is you will export these pages. You go to download, you're going to export as an MP4 video, and you can just deselect that first page so that you're just getting these number tickers, and you can keep going really as long as you like. You want to export that as a video, and then you're going to re-import the video into your original design. So I already have one prepared here. You can see that number ticks right up. I gave it about 20 clicks, and then you're going to drop it in to the design. So the easiest way to get it to match up, this is a really fun tip, is you're going to drop the opacity right down so you can see through it. And now it's really easy to see when it's going to line up. So let's get it as close as we can. That's pretty close. And then don't forget to put the opacity back up. Now, obviously, we have this white background, which we don't want. So we're just going to trim it down because all we really need from this is that number that's going to go up. So we can just trim it right down so that that's all we see. You can see straight off the bat, the color is slightly different to the background. So you can see a little bit that it's a difference. I'm pretty confident that when we export this design on the whole, it's going to match up really perfectly. But if you do want to have a play around with the colors, you can go back into the edit image and you can adjust the brightness and saturation and even the contrast just to try and get it to blend as seamlessly as possible so that it looks like it's all part of the same design. But I am actually just going to leave it as is because I'm pretty confident that when we export it, it's all going to look really lovely and aligned. So already we've turned this into a video. It's a moving design. It was that simple, and already the algorithm is going to start to favor this design. But I do think that we can do a few more things. So I am going to tidy this design up a little bit. The hero message here is that we're doing Instagram hashtags for business. And I think that all of these little extra design elements are really fun, but I'm going to delete them out just to really simplify the design right back down. I do love a bit of simplicity. So already this is just looking that little bit cleaner. So another way that we can get a video element in here is the background. It's a plain color at the moment. We could play around with gradients, but I'm actually going to do something moving. So if you go into elements, we type pink texture. And then what you can do here, if you guys haven't found this already, is you can filter by animation. So I'm going to just look at animated pink textures. And already there are some really fun things in there. I'm just going to go to graphics. There are loads of really fun animations in there. These are really fun. I really like the colors of these. What I really like about this pink one is that the pinks and the yellows of this actually match Instagram's branding if you look at Instagram's logo. And because this post is all about Instagram, I think that this is a really fun way to tie back into that. So I'm actually going to choose one of these ones, and then I'm going to expand it so that it covers the whole background. So now we have this really lovely moving background. We're just going to drop under all of these elements here. And then another thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trim it down. If I can reach that corner. Because what I'm trying to do is give a nice little white frame. I think that the frame from a design perspective looks a little bit nice and refined, but it's also a really fun nod to Instagram on the whole, the fact that it is a photos platform. So I think that having that frame, especially when Di has already created this really fun device with frames within frames, I think this border, this framing is just a really nice element. It's a really nice touch. So this design is already looking pretty great. I'm going to visit this text now. So I quite like the font and the color of it, but the pink on pink is clashing a little bit. So I'm going to change the pink. I think I'm just going to change it to white. I think that that pops really nicely and it matches the border. I am going to change the drop shadow. The shadow is really nice for giving it a bit of a boost. It separates it from the background a little bit, but the shadow itself is a little bit harsh. It's quite hard. So I'm going to try lift instead. You can see that it gives it the same sort of lift from the background, but it's a very, very soft effect. So it's just this really subtle sort of border around each of the letters. You might not immediately understand why it's popping out of the background, but subliminally you'll understand that it is separated. And I think that that's a really nice way to lift it out. And I'm also going to change the font of this. I just think that this post on the whole is quite playful. So I think that I'm going to go for a more playful font. I really like handwritten fonts. So the first thing I'm going to try is my all-time Canva favorite font, Sensor Wildfill. Question for the audience. Do you guys have a favorite Canva font you'll always go to? Pop your answers in the Zoom chat. I think everyone's probably got a font that they really like. I can see straight away that Sensor is not right for this. So one of my other all-time favorites is the Amsterdam series. I think they're really beautiful, but again, not quite right for this post. So I'm going to try my third favorite, which is Brittany. And I actually really like this. So I'm going to use this, but I am going to change it so that it's not capitalized. So I'm going to retype that. Jess, do we have some favorite fonts?
Yep, we have Amsterdam, Michelle loves Playfair Display and Apricot. Jen Lindsay loves Open Sans. Yeah, we're a bit of a fan of good old Open Sans as well. And Christian loves Glacial Indifference. Yeah, I like that one too. That's a really good one.
Oh yeah, I love Glacial Indifference. So I'm really happy with how Brittany looks. One thing that I'm going to do while I'm here is I'm going to position it so that it is just outside of the borders. I think that that's really fun and really playful, and it sort of ties into what Di has done here with this woman popping out of the frame. I think that if we have this text just peeking outside of the frame, enough so that it's still legible, but it's just like a playful little way to sort of experiment with frames. So I'm gonna upsize it as well, so that it's sort of just outside of this frame. And I think that that's really fun. What do you guys think? Great. So I'm gonna just group all of these elements. Bear with me one second. And just pop those up inside of the frame. And then another thing that we can do to create some visual interest is I'm going to add an animated sticker, because already we've got a bit of movement going on, but I think we can just add that tiny bit more movement. So to reference back to the fact that it's Instagram hashtags, and also it's a little bit of a nod to Di's original design, I'm going to search for hashtag stickers, and you can see we've already got the animated filter on. And already we've got a bunch of really fun stickers. I actually love them all. I don't know if you guys have a favorite. Feel free to pick your favorite in the chat. I'm going to start by trying this one. I think that the colors of this are really nice, and they match the colors of the design really beautifully. So it's quite a subtle animation, but again, it's just that little bit more visual interest, so that if someone's scrolling through their newsfeed and they come across this post, it just makes them that little bit more likely to stop and look at your post as opposed to a static image. So just playing around with dropping that in the corners. I think that I'm just going to pop it in this nice, clean, empty little corner just there. I think that's a really fun post. One thing I am going to do, just going to adjust the line spacing. Don't forget about your kerning, guys. That's just a little bit more legible. And then once again, I'm going to animate the page. So as I showed you guys before, these page animations, really, really fun. Some really fun page animations. What you can do to stop these elements from animating in separately is you can group them, and that will make them all animate as one, which I'll show you now. So deselect that one, deselect the background, and I'm going to group them. So now you can see they move as one. So that means they'll animate in as one as well, which is preferable. I'm going to go with this block animation. It's free. I think it's really, really fun. Let's preview it. I think this is looking really great. Oh, don't forget to delete out these other pages if you no longer need them. Great. So there you have it. We have completed our makeover of this design. The biggest thing that we did was we added movement through the like sticker, the background, the animated sticker, and the page animation, which isn't animating on, but you guys have seen it. And we also simplified the overall look. So we really brought it down from the busyness and all of the extra words, and we've really just simplified it. So it's this very simple, easy to read design. The message is really, really clear. You get straight away, when the text is up, you get straight away what we're trying to say. So does anyone in our audience have any questions related to design 2?
We do have some questions. A lot of people really loving that design and hoping we're going to do more video design makeovers. So loving sharing the video goodness. Thank you. Robbie asks, is there a way to change the color of elements like stickers?
That's a great question. At the moment, no, because of the way that they're animated and the way that the marketplace designers import them. At the moment, you can't change the colors of something that's already been animated. I'm not sure if that's something that we'll be able to do in the future. I imagine that it is, but at the moment, no, once the sticker is animated, you can't change the colors of it, unfortunately.
Okay, cool. What is the best way, asks SL, for animations not to go blank before transitioning to the next page? Have you run into that issue before?
The best way for animations not to go blank?
Yeah, sometimes they run, I think, and then they go blank and then it transitions. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, I'm not sure that I have.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure that I have seen that. I do wonder if that's maybe a bug or a glitch. I wonder if you made a copy of that design, if that would maybe sort that out.
Okay.
Video is still pretty new, so obviously the longer we have it and the more people use it, the better the product will get. So if we are seeing funny little things like that, that's something that will improve with time.
Cool, thank you. Hope that little hack works, SL, maybe copying that image. Okay, so I did have another question. Oh, is there a time limit for videos that you can make?
Oh, great question. I'd have to ask our video team. I'm not sure at the moment that there is a time limit. I certainly have never encountered one. I mean, I don't want to promise that you could edit a feature-length film with Canva video, but as far as I know, we don't have a limit I imagine there's probably one built in. I know that until recently, I think with presentations, we had a 100-slide limit, which I think is in the process of being lifted. But yeah, I'm not sure about the duration limit. That's a really great question. And I actually will talk to the video team and ask them. I've just not found it yet.
Cool. Interesting. Okay, and a couple of questions. This will be the last one for this one around the duration of a video. So when you did the numbers counting, could you affect the duration of that? Did you have control over how quickly or slowly that counted?
Yes, I did. So I set the page duration to 0.1 of a second. That's a really great question. I set the duration of all of the pages to 0.1 of a second, which is obviously a fraction of a second, to give it that really fast ticking up look, because I wanted the numbers to tick up quite quickly. So all of the numbers that you see there are up for 0.1 of a second, which I had full control over, which was a very conscious choice by me. So that's a really great question. Obviously, you can have your pages set to longer or potentially even shorter than that. That was just the timing that I set to make it tick up very quickly. Great question.
Spectacular. And we had a comment in the chat saying I made a 15-minute video in Canva and it worked really well. So we know you can definitely do up to 15-minute segments. Cool. That's all
great.
The questions for this design. Thanks, Jess.
And I'm really interested in that 15-minute video. What was it about?
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, tell us what it was about. Were you making a documentary? So moving on to our next design, this one was submitted by Vivian. It's an announcement for quarantine karaoke, which to be honest sounds like loads of fun. Vivian, if you're in the chat, can I come to this? This sounds great. I actually don't have edit permission for this particular design, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to rebuild it using our template library. So often the biggest barrier for entry when it comes to creativity is just not knowing where to start. So having a template library like Canva's is a really great jumping off point. We've got Vivian's design here. It's in a video template, so you can already see that the video templates look a little bit different. We've got this, what's called a playhead, which is this little bar that I'm moving along. And I've got templates open, so I highly recommend having a look through our video templates. We have so many really great video templates. I definitely recommend next time you guys make a video, have a look through these. There's so many good ones. There's a video template for pretty much everything you can see here. We've got fashion videos, we've got makeup and beauty videos, travel videos, event announcement videos, which I think would be perfect for this because we are announcing an event, quarantine karaoke. I actually had a really good look through the templates earlier, and I really like the simplicity of this particular template. So I'm going to add a page here, and I'm going to drop in this template because I think that this works really, really well. So as you can see in this design, there's quite a bit going on. There's a lot of really great iconic images of some famous country singers, but I think that we might be losing the message a little bit. I think we might be losing the core of it, which is this quarantine karaoke country fest. So simplifying it right down, I'm going to hero the quarantine karaoke country fest. Which I just think sounds so fun. What a great idea. And I'm going to just adjust the text so that it all sort of fits. While I'm doing that, I've got another question for the audience. What have you guys been doing during quarantine? Do you have some fun isolation hobbies? Has anyone been doing karaoke? I've been taking cooking classes with one of our Canva chefs, Chef Mark, which has been really great. I've been learning how to cook. What have you guys been doing?
Some people have been doing some gardening. Nicole took virtual dance lessons. Andrea took up Korean lessons.
Oh,
I'm impressed, people.
Korean lessons, that's an impressive one.
That is, isn't it? Ashley learned how to knit. Debbie did some virtual ballet.
Oh.
Ty helped make a child. He's on the way in late December. Well done, Ty.
Well done, Ty's partner.
Linny did some gardening too. Pamela did some virtual bingo. David worked out and lost 70 pounds.
Oh my goodness, David, that is impressive. Wow, that's okay. That's a lot of really fun hobbies. I was quite proud of myself for my cooking, but now I say I should have been learning Korean or losing weight. I'm very impressed. So I've changed the hero text. Next thing I'm going to do is change the text down here. So every Friday night. And over here, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drop in a website, because I think that particularly when you're advertising an event like this, a good thing to do is just call out the hero, like just get the crux of the information across. So what you need to know is that we're having Quarantine Karaoke Country Fest every Friday night. And then I'm going to drop in a website where people can go to get additional information, because you want to hook people in with interest with the main info, and then they can go somewhere else to get more information if they're interested. You don't always have to do this. It's just good with advertising, just to sort of get the hero information across, a bit of a hierarchy there. So Quarantine Karaoke countryfest.com. I've just made that up. I don't know if that's a real website. Please don't go to that website. It might be something weird. And then I'm going to change out this burger. I think it's obviously really cute, but it's not super relevant. So I'm going to go to elements. I'm going to search for guitar, filter by graphics. Just going to find something really cute and simple. Something like this, I think works really well. So we're going to sub out the burger for a little guitar. I think that's a cute, really cute little detail. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the font. So going back to the original design, you can see that they've got this really fun font on the logo. I don't have access to the logo, or I'd have included it, but you can see the font is this really fun, playful style. It sort of looks like a college style font, like something you might see on a college jersey. So I'm going to try changing this font. And you can see when you type into the search bar, it gives you these options. So like handwriting, corporate, display, headings, paragraph. I think there is actually a category for fun fonts. There we go, fun. So you can have a little look through here. Pacifico is actually one of my all-time favorites, and I think this looks really great. I am going to decapitalize it just because that was a bit too much. I'm going to do the same thing over here. What do you guys think of this? I think this is a really fun font, and I think it sort of ties in quite nicely with the original design. So, oh, and one thing that I did also while we were talking is I changed the angles slightly of these boxes. I made them on slightly contrasting angles, just because I think it adds a little bit more visual interest, and I overlapped it very slightly just to make it look a little bit more fun and playful. I feel like playful has become my word of the day. Sorry, guys. So I really like how this is looking. I really like that font. What do you guys think of the font? I think it's really fun. I won't say playful again.
I love that font.
I'm going to change the font down here as well. I'm going to do Pacifico for this one again. And because Pacifico is quite a thick font, I think this font down here can probably change because it's quite thick as well. So because we're building out a hierarchy of fonts, I think we want to go with something a little bit simple just to sort of balance out the thickness of these fonts. So let's find a less fun font, a more simple font. I'm actually just going to go with Oswald. It's one of my favorites. You can see it's quite thin, it's quite simple. It says what it needs to say down in the corner. And then just move this little guitar back in. And then that also, the guitar serves to draw the eye down there as well. So that for those who are interested and who have already had their attention grabbed, they want more info, they can go to this website, not a real website, and find more information on Quarantine Karaoke. So I'm also going to change the colors. If you go back to this one, they've obviously, the brand colors that Vivian has used is this really lovely orange. And a way that you can do that is you can take a screen grab from another design. If you don't know the QR code, you can take a screen grab, and which I've already done, and you can drop it into your design, which I've done here. And then you can use here, you can use photo colors. So you can see that it's picking up the orange that I've just dropped in there. And now we have the QR colors, the hex code for that color, and we can make the whole thing match. So I can delete that out now. We've got the color. You can make it match that really lovely orange of Vivian's design. So already it's looking pretty on brand. We've changed the font, we've changed the colors. I would add in, this would be a good time to add in the logo if you have it. So now I'm going to change the stock video. Obviously, we've got this big video of a burger, which is not at all related to what we need it to. So I'm going to go back into my stock videos. And like I said, we've pretty much got a video for everything. I'm going to maybe add in a video of a guitar, because what's country music without guitar? So some really fun, really great videos in here, really nice black and white one, if that's the vibe. I quite like this one. I like that it's quite, we would call this in the industry, we would call this a medium mid shot, because it's, we're not seeing too much of him. It's not a close up, but it's not too far away. And I really like that it sort of focuses on the guitar rather than the person, because I like that subliminally, from an advertising perspective, anyone could imagine themselves in this person's position. Anyone could imagine themselves coming to Quarantine Karaoke Fest or playing the guitar, what have you. I'm even going to blow it up a little bit more so that we really hear that. And then don't forget to push it backwards behind those elements. So this is looking pretty good. This clip does run for 19 seconds. I don't think we need it to run for 19 seconds. So I'm actually just going to change it to 5 seconds, and then you can move it around if there's a different part of the clip that you prefer. This clip's pretty much all sort of the same sort of vibe, so I'm not too stressed about it, but that's a really good way to edit your videos. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this page. And then I'm going to change this video to a different video. So if I type in country music, we've got some really fun violin. Obviously, violin is a staple of country music. So I'm going to find another shot. I actually really like this shot because it's the same sort of vibe. I'm trying to match it up a little bit with the guitar shot where we're not really seeing her face. It's really focusing on the actual violin. So I'm going to take out those videos, and I'm going to add in this really fun violin video. And then what you can do is you can remove the animations from these pages so that it will actually really seamlessly go from one to the next. Oops, don't forget to position that backwards behind those elements. And then this clip is 21 seconds. Again, we really don't need it to be that long. I'm going to make it 3 seconds. Remember the rule of thumb, read things out loud, and that's how long you should give the audience to read your text. So Quarantine Karaoke Country Fest every Friday night. I think 5 seconds is probably good. And between the two clips, we've got about 8 seconds worth. So I think that that's a really good amount of time for the audience to get what they need. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and delete out the original because we've got what we need here. So we've adjusted the durations. Now, obviously, what's Quarantine Karaoke without some music? I'm going to add some music, of course. Audio is a fairly new thing for Canva. So if you don't know about all of our stock music, now's a really good time to check it out. It's a pretty new thing. We've also got audio uploads. So you can upload your own music. You can also upload your own sound effects, your own voiceover. You can actually do audio uploads now, which is a really exciting new feature. But for today, I'm just going to pull something out of Canva stock library because we've got so much great stuff in there. So I'm going to search for country, of course. And I'm going to listen to a couple just to see what the right vibe is. A little bit chilled out. I like those, but they're a little bit chill. Like this is effectively an ad. So we want to like really drive people's attention. We want something a bit fun, playful. I actually really love this one. So I'm going to drag and drop this onto the design. I love this track. This is perfect. This is the perfect vibe. And what you can do down here is you can adjust which part of the track you like. I'm just going to use the start, but you can use really any part of the track that you like. So you can really sit here and experiment with that. You can choose maybe the big crescendo of the music. You can choose the intro if it's a little bit more chill. You can choose whichever part you like. So, I have a fun question for the audience now. I already asked you what everyone's quarantine hobbies were. My apologies. So now I'm going to add some transitions between the two shots. So with my music selected, you can see down here, add transition. And now you can have a look at these and you can see how the two shots are going to change into one another. So dissolve, it's got this beautiful dissolve between the shots. It's a classic. Slide, it's going to slide the whole thing over. Circle wipe or line wipe. So really fun transitions there. I'm just going to go with the dissolve. It's really classic. It's classic across the industry. Everybody loves a crossfade. So we've got some really lovely transitions. And then the final thing you can do is A really good thing to do once you get to a certain level of editing is time your cuts with the beat of the music. This is a really, really good thing. 99% of people watching your video won't notice if the cuts are timed to the beat, but they will appreciate it on a subconscious level. Like, it's a really, really clever thing to do. It can be so subtle, but it makes a world of difference, especially if you, next time you watch a music video or a really good ad, notice if the cuts are timed to the beat, because it's a really clever thing that editors do. It's very subtle, but it's really good. So if we just press play. So you can hear about here, we had this really great beat where we could change the shot about here. So what we can do is we can drag the shot back to about where it was meant to be. So that's pretty close. That's pretty good. You can see that right on the beat of that music, it transitions from one shot to the other. And really, you can keep building on this. You can keep adding shots. You can build on this as much as you like. I know that I think it was Stephen had the 15-minute long video. I'm sure you've got a lot of shots within that 15-minute window. So you can really build on this. And the rapidity of the shots is really dependent on what it is that you're trying to say. So with a piece like this, the eye shouldn't focus on the video itself. The eye should focus on the text. So we don't want to go too crazy on the video. We just want to really let the text do the talking, and the video is there to sort of support it, back it up, and add a little bit of visual interest. So there you have it. We've completed our rebuild of this design. The biggest things that we did were we simplified the design, and we really let the key message in the supers is that text on screen, that's our industry term. We let that text on screen really do the talking with more information at a website that they can go to visit. So does anyone in our audience have any questions related to this design?
Oh, that was so amazing. Lots of people going, wow, that looks really, really good. So we only have time for one or two questions. One quick question, can we add 2 different audio clips in one video?
That's a great question. Yes, you can. So I don't have any voiceover or anything uploaded. So I'll just have to do it with 2 pieces of music so that you can see. But if, say I wanted to have 2 pieces, you drag and drop it, and you can see I've got these 2 layers, one sitting on top of the other. So obviously if I play this now, it's going to be a little bit of a cacophony of sound. There's a lot going on there. But if this was a voiceover or sound effects instead of music, you could see how they could balance out really nicely. And you can actually adjust the level. So if you had a music track and you had a voiceover, you'd probably want to drop the music track right down so that it's quite subtle underneath your voiceover. So you could drop this right down and really experiment with that. And then you could see how that's a lot quieter. And then you could really let this second track, which in theory would be my voiceover, you can really let that hero and the levels of that sit a lot higher. That's a great question.
Great. And we did have one more. Nalin asked, I missed how we got the view of the bar at the bottom showing the length of the video. How did you get that to appear? Was that just because you opened a video template and it pops up automatically?
Yep, that's exactly right. So I originally, and sorry, I did do this prior to the webinar, but yeah, I opened a video specific template. So you won't see it pop up in, say, an Instagram post. Obviously you've got page by page, but when you open a video design, this is how it looks. It's set up a little bit differently. Great question.
Fantastic. And that brings us right to the end of the webinar. So thank you so much, Jess, for sharing your expertise with us today and making those fantastic designs.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks so much for facilitating the event. I've had so much fun with these designs, and I've had so much fun with everyone's questions. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, we hope to have you back for another design makeover on video in the not too distant future. Thank you so much for joining, everybody, and we hope to see you at another Canvas Space event very soon. Goodbye.